Hi, this is Darren from SimNation. Just wanted to do the SNCFL's championship game. It's been a little bit delayed just because of different things going on, but originally I was going to do this live, but I've decided I'm just going to do a video drop instead. For those of you who don't remember, SNCFL is SimNation's Draft Day Sports College Football 2024 League, which of course is a Wolverine Studios title. Kind of want to talk about how we got here. Tonight, of course, the matchup is a Big Ten rematch of the championship game for the Big Ten, where Iowa, who's coached by Frankie, and Maryland will face off in the championship game. Maryland won the Big Ten over Iowa, but Iowa definitely is probably the surprise team of this season so far. So let's just dive right in. We're just going to look at the raw scores and I'm going to do the import. I'll do that online just so that everyone can see that there's no shenanigans going on. Um, but playoff wise, if we look at the two teams and just in general, I think I covered the first round already. So in the quarterfinals, Rutgers and Maryland. Maryland essentially has played, except for one game, all the other Big Ten teams. The only team they, of course, didn't get was Michigan. But they took on Michigan State in the first round. They took on Rutgers, which is Kevin, in the second round. And then, of course, in the semifinals, they finally got an SEC team before, of course, facing Iowa in the finals. Kevin, great season from Rutgers, just fell a little bit short in that game, but did take out Maryland's starting quarterback and running back, which would have some interesting dynamic for the semifinals. UCLA, which is Stewart, versus Iowa, which is Frankie. This was a really good game. Of course, Iowa came back and won it in overtime by scoring like 22 points in the fourth quarter. It wasn't as close as you would think. First half was definitely all UCLA. The second half was really all Iowa. And then, of course, UCLA tied it up with 27 seconds left to send it to overtime before Iowa actually took the game. And of course, in that game, Lyman, who is Iowa's really good running back, had a massive game with 256 yards. Georgia, Miami, this is Shark and Gary. Gary's Miami, Shark is Georgia. Hats off to Shark. The last three seasons, he's had really good runs deep into the playoffs and made it to the semifinal. I think it's like his second time though, or third time in a row though. So Georgia's definitely doing a great job under him. And as you can see, Compton had a really good game, helping to lead that charge over Gary, who historically is one of the stronger teams with Miami. It was a little bit of a down season for Miami and Gary, but he still got him into the quarterfinals, knocking off Frankie's other team, which was Oklahoma State in the first round. Western Michigan, another Stewart team versus Skelter with Louisiana Monroe. This one really wasn't all that close. Skelter just did a really good job in the second quarter on blowing it open and then holding off Stewart in Western Michigan. Another great season, though, for Western Michigan, UCLA, just Stewart in general. He's done a really good job. He had three teams in the playoffs. Two teams made it to the quarterfinals, one lost in the first round. And then when we look at the semifinal, the first one was at the Fiesta Bowl out in Arizona, was Iowa and Georgia. This one was a really good game. And of course, Iowa won it in the final 27 seconds. It was just kind of back and forth, which is what you would expect. Compton had a really good game with 5 touchdowns, but Frankie largely won it on the ground and was able to capitalize on the penalties and the turnover, the single turnover by Shark. And then, of course, in the other semifinal in the Peach Bowl, you had Maryland versus Louisiana Monroe, so Skelter. This one probably wasn't as close. Maryland playing with essentially a third string quarterback for most of the game because the second string got knocked out, and they won it largely on the ground and through defense and managed to get past Skelter. Jewett had a decent game, but it wasn't enough for them to get by Maryland, who arguably is probably the toughest team in the SNCFL. So, just want to call out a couple things before I do the import and start the title game. Really good season, like I said, from Stewart. UCLA finished the regular season #2, Georgia #3, that's Shark. But Stewart had two top five teams between UCLA and Western Michigan, Skelter with Louisiana Monroe, and then of course you had Frankie, who had two top 10 teams as well. And Kevin really, Rutgers came out of nowhere to really do a great job this season. So hats off to Kevin. He's really put together a really good team there. So what we're going to do is go ahead and log in as the commish. I'm going to import the games, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So Maryland and Iowa, we'll look at the tail of the tape here in a second. Before we start the game, actually, just want to make sure that all the imports went through. Should be easy because they're both in the same conference. So Iowa's a success, Maryland's a success, so we're good. So tail of the tape. So if we look at this, and we'll just look at the matchup, is of course Iowa is, both teams are amongst the top scorers in the league. Iowa's probably got the better offense. One would argue that maybe that's because they're in the Western Division of the Big Ten as opposed to the Eastern. I wouldn't. I think Frankie's done a phenomenal job with establishing a really strong running attack at Iowa. As you can see, they're the #1 ranked rushing offense in the SNCFL. The passing leaves a little bit to desire, so that'll be a concern for Frankie probably going into this game. Maryland generally is one of the better run defenses, especially in the Big Ten, and that's how they beat them in the first game. So Frankie's probably going to have to establish some form of passing. Maryland's offense is a little different than in the past. It's much more balanced. So yeah, they still have a really strong rushing attack, but they also have a pretty strong passing attack. And Baker's back for this game. So that'll help Maryland quite a bit because it's just a different team without Baker at quarterback. The person to keep an eye on Maryland from a rushing perspective is Anthony Church, but don't be surprised if you start seeing Leo Vang, who's had a down year for his senior year, but that's more because Church and Boudreaux kind of stepped it up and Vang kind of fell into the background. And then, of course, Frankie's main job is going to be to figure out how to stop Lindbergh, who's one of the reasons why Baker's had such a strong year. And then on the opposite side, Frankie can choose from multiple different running backs at any time. Nyman is the one to keep an eye on. I mean, he's averaging almost 10 yards a carry. That's unheard of. 17 touchdowns. So if he gets loose in this game, it's probably going to be a long day for Maryland. Defensively, these are two of the top defenses in the country. Maryland, of course, is the top one in most categories within the Big Ten and a top 10 in almost all categories against everyone else. You can see the records, the tail of the tapes. Iowa's 1-30 versus Maryland. Maryland's 30-1 against Iowa. Now, in fairness, Frankie's only been at Iowa for a while, and most of those games were against the CPU. Occasionally, there was a rivalry between Rouse and Maryland way back in the day. Rouse, of course, rage quit because he couldn't get past Maryland, and that was in the heyday of Maryland's dominance. So that's kind of the tell of the tape. It'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. I'm going to go ahead and sim it. And we'll watch it. So let me get the speeds right. So we're going to go ahead and hit play. And we'll see how this goes. I may have the speed up too high. And I do. So I'm going to slow it down just a little bit. I apologize for that. Still maybe a little bit too fast. Let me pause this for a second. So, yeah, I apologize. It's 3rd and 2. Let me just change this up a little bit. So Iowa got the ball first. They're on 3rd and 2. I need to slow the animation speed down too. So we'll see how they're going. It's a running pass. Maryland gets the stop, so it'll be essentially 4th and 2. Iowa's forced to punt. So good start for the Maryland defense. See what the Maryland offense can do. There'll be a lot of balanced hill. The key is that they just need to keep the turnovers down. So Tolliver gets a catch, makes it 2nd and 2. Of course, Maryland will run the ball as well. So 5-yard gain by Church. So Maryland's off to a pretty decent start in its first 2 plays. And again, they're going to run the ball a lot with Church probably today to try to exploit some matchups that they feel are there on the opposite side. So Baker again hands off to Church, and it'll be 3rd and 1. See if Maryland can convert this. Not sure I like the pass on that play, and it's incomplete. So Maryland is first to punt. So good job by Iowa to stop Maryland after a couple early first downs. And now Iowa will get a chance to come back and see what they can do, and that's not good. So great pass by Calvert to Gardner before Cox drags him down. Cox, I think, is like a freshman cornerback, if I remember correctly. And of course, good job by Barlow sacking Calvert. You see a lot of corner blitzes from Maryland. That's kind of their thing. So it's 2nd and 17. I was going to try to run the ball, and we kind of mentioned the different running backs. Didn't like that unsportsmanlike conduct, but you'll see Booker U as well, who's another running back who Frankie's used him very, very good throughout the season. And of course, now we have Lyman on who just gained for 4. So really good, strong drive starting to develop for the Hawkeyes. So they're deep into Maryland territory at this point. 1st and 10. They're running the ball very effectively. That looks like a sweep of some sort. And they're running off tackles, which, if you're going to attack Maryland, it's probably the best place to attack them because they run a 3-4 a lot. And definitely Iowa is moving the ball very, very well at this point. So we'll see how this plays out. Another 4-yard gain, this time. And quick throw. And touchdown Iowa. So found Gardner again. Gardner, of course, had the big catch earlier on the drive to move the ball into Maryland territory. And Iowa is now up 7-0 on Maryland. So really good start for Frankie. Plus they're eating off the clock, which is always a good thing to do against Maryland to keep the offense off the field. But let's see how Maryland responds. Good run by Church. Kind of interesting that Calvert hasn't thrown a single pass that wasn't for the first down. So got 2nd and 10, no gain on that play. Baker's back, and another drop or another miss. So they get a little bit of luck with an offsides. So it's 3rd and 5, and of course they're going to run the ball. And good run by Church, who gets 8 yards in the first down. I won't be shocked if you see a lot of time of possession series from both of these teams. They both like to grind the clock because they are run heavy. So Maryland's moving the ball finally, which is good. Nobody's open. That's never really a good throw to throw into a double coverage, but he made it work and gets the first down. And now they're going to run the ball again, another 6-yard gain. So Church is really starting to do what he does, which is run the ball very strongly. Another run to the outside and another 6-yard gain. He's a workhorse back, so he won't come out very often, which sometimes can hurt, but another 3-yard gain, which gets them down to the 2. So hopefully they can convert Hill. And I think that's Vang. Yeah, so they brought in Vang, who is their short yardage person, and of course he scores. So now we are all tied up at 7. So really two drives have defined the first quarter so far, and um, I think for Maryland, they've got to stop the rushing attack of Iowa if they're going to have any chance in this game. Um, but shockingly, Calvert is doing really well through the air. If you had told me that he'd probably convert his first 5 passes, I don't know that I would have agreed with that. That looks like it was an end run, maybe. Quick pass, quick catch, and again, really moving the ball effectively through the air. So Iowa's definitely showing some really good looks here. That was a great stop in the backfield. Looks like it was some form of wildcat position from Frankie. Um, this is a little shocking. Maryland's got a lot of really good corners, so Gardner is just Cox is not a bad corner. He's young, but he's very good, and Frankie's just picking him apart. So Iowa has a really great game plan. Of course, Maryland gets called for offsides. 13 seconds left in the first quarter. Iowa's driving. Um, and just doing a really good job. So you will notice that a bunch of people will touch the ball for Iowa. So at the end of the first quarter, they'll flip sides. Now we're into the second quarter. Maryland really needs to get a stop here. A holding is definitely something that will help. Um, and looks like it's a wildcat again. See if Maryland can read this, and I think they read it, but I don't think they did a good job stopping it. So a huge gain there, and it's a touchdown. So U goes in, and I was up 14-7. So really great start for Iowa. 2 out of 3 possessions, they've taken the ball and scored. Maryland will need to respond. Maryland's defense outside of that first drive really hasn't done much. One thing to watch throughout this game is both these two teams do have good returners, so don't be shocked if you see some form of a touchdown. But Maryland's definitely going to need to do something here. Not sure why he didn't see number 83 was wide open, but we'll leave that alone. And Iowa gets a costly too many men on field, which makes it 2nd and 5, which helps Maryland quite a bit. This is going to be a sack. Nope. He found Church, so good catch from Church. Thought that one was going to be a sack, but thankfully it wasn't. Going to hand it off again, and again, Church is a workhorse back, so he's showing that today. He has like 52 yards. So difference between Iowa and Maryland will be you'll see a lot of different backs feature for Iowa. You'll see less of that with Maryland, who really are going to run Church until he's tired. So again, another Church, another 5-yard gain. He is definitely helping move the chains and keep the clock going. And he fumbled, and did Maryland lose it? Yes. So, oh boy. So costly fumble for Maryland. Iowa's got the, no, I'm sorry, they got it back and broke it up. So 3rd and 2, they'll kick the field goal, 14-10. Sorry about that. I keep forgetting Hill is actually on Maryland's side. So fumble definitely kind of hurt a little bit. And what I talked about earlier is a great return again by Spivey. So he's definitely helping Iowa to start very deep in Maryland territory on each of these, and great rush by Lyman. Maybe should not have played a 3-4. Just really good game planning from Frankie and his coaching staff so far. They're doing a great job. That's a 0 yard on 1st and 10. Maryland needs to probably get more of those. And 5-yard gain, so bring up 3rd and 5. Maybe, yeah, 3rd and 5. And we'll see, and they get the stop, and let's see if they'll kick the field goal or punt it, and they choose to punt it. So it's a touchback. Maryland get the ball on the 20. So that was a pretty crucial stop for Maryland if they're going to stay in this game. And Church is off to the races again. Really got to talk about Calvert. I mean, he's 9 of 9 for 92 yards. This was one of those games where I was hoping to make Frankie pass, and try to beat them that way. I didn't expect to see Baker 3 of 7, but in fairness, he's just coming back from an injury. So, but right now, Church is doing a great job running the ball. Just gotta hold on to it. That fumble almost was costly. So it'll be 3rd and 1. And get sacked. That's a coverage sack, so great job by Frankie and team. Maryland will have to punt, despite the really good start to that drive. And this one is a touchback. One of the problems with Chamberlain is he's a deep ball punter, which means that he's going to get a lot of those. So first incompletion of the game for Calvert. Still really good start. He's 9 of 10 for 92 yards. It looks like Maryland may be starting to key in a little bit on Iowa, which is what they needed. Another incompletion and blocked punt. You don't see that very often, but that gives Maryland great field position. See if they can make the most of it. Church has a good 6-yard gain where he kind of dances around. And you'll see a lot of pitching from Maryland. Not really happy with that call, but it is what it is. And just short of the first down. I don't think they'll go for it. They'll kick the field goal, so it'll be 14-13. Maryland. So Nig has kicked 2 field goals so far, and hopefully Maryland can avoid a long run back. So this one was Kane, not Spivey. Spivey's having a monster game on returns. So we'll see if Maryland can stop Iowa again. They're starting to crack down on that run pretty hard, which I think will help ease some of the pressure on the secondary. So Barlow gets that. And this could be a sack, and it is. So great sack by Milam, who puts Iowa deep into their own territory. And this time the punt gets off. And it's a really good punt from Iowa. Okay return by Church. So Maryland's defense is playing much better now, which is a good sign, but the offense, that's going to be another sack. Oh, not a sack, but thought that would be a sack. So good job by the Maryland offense. Tolliver finally gets into it, and that, of course, ends the first half with Iowa up 14-13 on Maryland. So Maryland will get the ball to start the second half, and they get a really good return out of Castro, who I think is the one that blocked the punt, actually. So Maryland will start the second half doing what they did in the first half, which is run the ball. So Church is already over 100 yards in the first half, and Baker is out. So that will bring Johnson in, I think, who also, no, Baker's still in. And another fumble. So Maryland turns the ball over. Iowa will get it at the 50. That's the second fumble today from Church. The environment really shouldn't be in play here. It's like 50 degrees, so, and of course that's a costly penalty on Maryland, which takes the 3rd and 6. It makes it a 3rd and 1. And they get the first down, so great job, Iowa. Maryland really needs to get a stop here. So 3 yards by you. I mean, I think I was running the ball well, but Maryland's done a okay job at stopping them. First down, really good run there by Washington. So that one was largely pushed out of bounds. So far side running will be a little bit hard. That's a touchdown. So just great job with that one. So now it is 21-13, Iowa. So Iowa definitely is playing very well right now. Maryland has made some costly mistakes with turnovers, which is kind of sad because the defense has largely done okay, but they have been playing a lot of more short field. And that one's broken up. Baker is definitely not having a good game. Guy was wide open. So Baker and Lindbergh can't figure out how to find each other. That's going to hurt a little bit. He's going to roll out. And another incompletion, and Baker's down again. At this point, I kind of want Baker to be out to see what Johnson can do. So hats off to Iowa. They're doing a really good job of keeping Maryland in check on the offensive side of the ball. They're moving the ball well enough on the offense side of their ball and keeping the defense from keying in on them. So this will bring up a 3rd and 2. Maryland definitely needs to stop Hill, otherwise this game's probably going to get out of hand. Good rollout, lots of time. That's never a good sign. Taunting. Seriously? I never. Yeah, I'll leave that one alone. You typically taunt when you do something else. Yeah, this one's going to get out of hand. I won't be shocked if Iowa's essentially broken Maryland's back at this point. Um, so Calvert is just having a great game. The secondary is not doing enough to shut him down. So unless Maryland gets some big play, he'll. I mean, there's a lot of time left, but I mean, they're largely up by 2 touchdowns at this point. And Maryland is not really showing themselves to be doing that great of a job. So a good 10-yard run by Church, and of course a personal foul after the play. So Johnson is in, and Johnson's a former 5-star quarterback. He's about to get sacked. Oh, so I believe that's Tolliver. So Maryland gets the big play from Tolliver, 47-yard touchdown. Still, it's going to be hard. They've got to start shutting Iowa down. So I think the key is that they've got to stop these series where Iowa's starting on around the 45, 50-yard line. So 28-20, game's still very much a game based on that last touchdown. But Maryland really needs to try to tighten up on the defense. And we'll see. Johnson does bring a different dynamic to Maryland than Baker does. And they get the stop. So 3rd and 9, Maryland gets a stop, and Iowa will have to punt it again. And of course, Iowa's got a really good punter. So Maryland will get the ball back with 5:22. Scores 28-20, 1st and 10. Church gets a measly 1 yard. We'll see if Maryland starts to open this up a little bit and stops running the ball, but another 3-yard gain, so that'll be 3rd and 6. The good news is Johnson does have experience playing. And another good pass from Johnson to Church. Church isn't going to take that all the way, but really good short pass turned into a long pass of 32 yards. So it looks like they will run the ball with Church for 5 yards. And again, Maryland is just trying to control the clock at this point. So 3:18 left in the 3rd quarter. They find another wide open for another touchdown. This time they find Lindbergh for 22 yards. And are they going to go for 2 or just accept the... Yeah, they're going to go for 2. And 2-point conversion is good, so we're tied up at 28 in the 3rd quarter. Maryland, of course, has scored the last 2 touchdowns to get back into this one. And another great return by Spivey. I mean, he's having a really strong game. The difference for Maryland at this point is Johnson having come in for the injured Baker. So, but you have to keep an eye on Iowa. They are running the ball really well. Great run hill by Spivey. So he's not only running the ball, returning the ball well, he's also running it well. So 3 yards, Iowa doing a good job of moving the ball. And another push out for 1 yard and brings up a 3rd and 4. Maryland would love to get a stop hill. They're not going to get it. In fact, they may have just given up a touchdown, but they didn't. Gardner gets stopped. Again, like I said at the beginning of the game, if you had told me Calvert was going to have a big game, I probably would have laughed. But he's doing a really good job. Frankie's mixing the ball up very, very well. And that's a touchdown for Iowa, so they jump back out into the lead, 35-28, with 56 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. A really good response to Maryland, who had scored twice. So this 3rd quarter has definitely been a lot more open. The thing that Johnson brings to the table that Baker doesn't is he is much more of a long ball threat than Baker is. This is going to be a sack. So Brazil gets the sack on, I'm sorry, Brazil recovers the ball after Floyd flattens Johnson. So it's 2nd and 20. Not sure I would have ran the ball there, but 8 yards gain, 3rd quarter, 16 seconds left. We should almost be in the 4th quarter at this point. Finds Church for another long gain. The beauty of Church is he not only is a really good running back, but he's also a really good receiver. So Maryland will have the ball entering into the 4th. They get a 4-yard gain. They're trailing by 7. This game has been pretty back and forth. Definitely, I expected this maybe to be more of a defensive struggle. That one kind of hurts, so it brings up a 2nd and 15 because of the holding or illegal use of the hands. He's got 83 open and throws it under. So, and 1st down, another key catch by Lindbergh. So Maryland will get a penalty off of Iowa, another neutral zone infraction. Another penalty, too many men on the field. Frankie's not going to be happy with that. That's back-to-back penalties, which essentially gives Maryland a 1st and inches, which, of course, they convert. Church is definitely having a good game with 172 yards. Johnson has so far been solid with 139 yards. Coming on for the injured Baker. They're going to try to sweep this, and that didn't work. Oh, man, wide open and dropped. So, Maryland's field goal kicker, Nig, won't miss very often. He's one of the better kickers in the league. So, it's 35-31 in the 4th quarter. Really bad return by Kane. Should probably just let Spivey catch it all the time. So we'll see how this plays out. Maryland, of course, needs a stop, and that's definitely not what they needed. So you doing really good. Maryland gets a push out for 1, so it'll be 3rd and 1 on the 43. Definitely need a stop here if you're Maryland, and they got it. So it'll be interesting to see, do they go for it or do they punt? They punt. Maryland will get it on the 10. And with there's quite a bit of time left in this one, so with 9:49 left, kind of want Maryland to stop running the ball right now. Um, they've had more success throwing the ball, and that one's incomplete. And another sack, so they'll have to punt it. It's a not good punt. So that essentially gives Iowa the chance to win this one. Penalty, holding, that's good because it backs Iowa up. Um, yeah, I know a lot of people don't like the end around, but the end around doesn't always produce a positive result, as you can see there. So another holding penalty. The only concern I have is there's not much time left for Maryland. Of course, Maryland, if they score a touchdown, can go ahead. Um, but what they're trying to do is, so second 30, third and 22, is not give up the big play here. And they just gave up the big play. So it'll be another pump by Woodward, locks Maryland in again at the same place they were before. So we'll see if maybe there's a little difference here. With 6:25 left, Maryland needs to have a little bit more urgency than they've had. Um, Church in the second half has not been as good as he was in the first half. Still, I mean, he's running the ball really well. The problem is you have essentially a quarterback who doesn't see the ball often. He overthrew Church still. Um, so second and 10, Church will get the ball and get it for 7 yards, bring up a third and two. If you're Maryland, you kind of probably want to think about running the ball here. So now we see Boudreaux for the first time today. Boudreaux is a as good running back as Church is. The difference between the two is he doesn't tend to fumble the ball as much. So this one will always be hard for me. Is do you try to run the clock out? Boudreaux has the ability to break those away. So good run by Boudreaux for 42 yards to get to the outside. This one's a nail biter. 2:43 left. Don't need to make a mistake. He'll got a guy wide open, and that's a touchdown for Maryland as he finds Boudreaux, who really carried that drive for the score, which puts Maryland up 38-35. So a field goal will tie it, a touchdown will win it. So Spivey calls for a field catch. That one is a little weird, but okay. So Maryland needs to get some pressure on the ball and not give up these long ones. Gardner's just really, he's had a great game against Cox. I probably should have put Beasley at the top spot and I didn't. So another good pass from Calvert. Again, he's having a really good game. So Maryland hasn't been able to really pressure him. Not sure what that was. And then, of course, Maryland gets a neutral zone infraction, which means it's now third and three. I think it's third and three. So that's an incomplete. Um, how's that? Okay, that was weird. So a minute 9 left. Again, Iowa just needs a field goal to tie it, and a touchdown wins it. Oh, gee. Oh, it's on Cal. What? Okay. Calvert just made a boneheaded play. But doesn't matter with 42 seconds left. Iowa is on the Maryland 4. And Iowa just scored to win the game. So it's 30 seconds left. That's pretty much it. Oh man, Frankie is gonna be so pissed. Yeah. With 22 seconds left, an 82-yard touchdown by Maryland. Uh, Completely wide open was Lindbergh, and with no time left, Maryland wins the national championship in I don't even know what to call that. Wow. I that's just wow. Yeah, don't even know what to say about that one. So as you can see, really good game between Iowa and Maryland. Maryland definitely won in the total yards and time of possession. Rushing about equal. The passing was slightly different. Baker had a horrible game. Frankie did a great job with shutting him down. Johnson came in and just basically had an amazing game in the second half. 11 passes, 7 completions, 238 yards, 4 touchdowns. Church, another big game for him with 193 yards. Boudreaux came in, of course, in those last few drives and really made a difference. Hats off to Spivey. The dude had a massive game. If you look at this, so he had 76 yards on the ground, and then he had 138 yards on kick returns. And then, of course, the other person that really kind of deserves on Frankie's side is Gardner, who just made Cox look bad all game long. Um, Really great game between these two teams. That ending, though, is wow. So as you can see, is sorry about that. For whatever reason, it's making a decision to do this. So I'm gonna just stop that. So as you can see, with 56 seconds left, Iowa did a good job with taking the ball at 2:50 after Maryland scored to take the lead. They got the ball back, and again, a really good return by Spivey for 38 yards. Spivey with that big 24-yard run, and then of course Calvert found Picard in the end zone, and you could hear it in my voice, right? Uh, it was one of those where it's just like you're watching the train wreck of Maryland just letting them march down the field and win the game. And then, of course, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong quarter. Um, you have this long drive that where they get the ball at 2:23 after Maryland scored, and then Calvert does a pretty good job of getting the ball down the field, and then of course finds you for a touchdown. Um, this unnecessary roughness, Frankie probably was yelling at his quarterback on that one, but great job by Calvert throughout the game. He definitely gave him a chance to win it, and then the kickoff, and then just this play right here, the 82-yard touchdown by Maryland. That's just insane. So that is the season. I will quickly go through awards and other things, but I need to go ahead and put this up real quick just so people can get at it. Um, but really great game from the two teams. I think that great season from Iowa. I mean, in fairness, Iowa that's a heartbreaking loss for Iowa, but of all the teams, so two teams in the SNCFL that have that ability and the really win in the final seconds of the game, and it's really Miami and Maryland. So that was sort of a Hail Mary, but it really wasn't. It was just a shorter pass route where the guy lost the coverage, it looks like, and you don't want to do that with the person that he was trying to cover, Lindbergh, who's arguably one of the best wide receivers in the league. So just a great game. Hats off to Frankie. I think that hats off to Shark and to the other semifinalists in Skeletor. But Maryland retains its national championship status on an L Bidle. Will it definitely shows that Iowa is very close to potentially taking over the Big Ten from Maryland. So great game. Definitely think that it could have went either way. And as a result, we are now at the end of the season. So the next sim will be essentially to um, do the red shorts, and then we'll flip the season into the new season. So if you're interested, definitely let me know. But again, sorry for the scatterbrainness. I'm used to doing these live. I typically like having someone with me to help counterpoint me, but also it was just a great game, and a little bit of the scatterbrainedness had to do with its Maryland, which is, of course, my favorite team in real life. So even in a fake league, I get a little upset when they lose. But definitely Maryland should have lost that one. Hats off to Iowa. They played the better game. Calvert had a really great game. So did Spivey and Gardner. But in the end, the difference for Maryland was the introduction of Adam Johnson, who is the backup quarterback, maybe the starter next year. And then, of course, Boudreaux coming in as a change of pace back in the fourth quarter definitely helped. And then just Church had a really good game minus the fumbles. But hats off to everyone. Thank you for a great season, and I'm going to cut it here. So thanks.